I mean, it's obviously finding the deal, right? And especially doing it in a timely manner. And I know that we'll have opportunities, but obviously I want to be stepping up. I don't want to be rolling an 8 unit into like 10 single families, which is going to create 10 more problems.
So are you guys exiting anything right now?
Yeah. We have a couple of properties actually that we're looking to exit. I mean, I'm glad that we're chatting because this is something that we've been trying to figure out is how to handle the tax situation. So,
Yeah.
we've bought quite a lot of properties over the last little bit, especially in our local market. And from our marketing too, even though I'm a wholesaler, we found not just like single family stuff. We found, we've done deals with mobile home parks, triple net properties, like land, everything you can say. They've all come through the same marketing channels. And the interesting thing is we don't even necessarily market to them. It's just in the method of marketing for distressed sellers. Distressed sellers don't always only own a house. Sometimes they own like larger assets.
Yep.
Like we bought an 8 unit apartment complex nearby here for $475,000 last December. And once the thing is stabilized and fully rented out, which we're almost done with that, thing should be worth just south of $1 million, and our total money would be like less than 50 grand. So, that's a pretty sick deal. So that's one that we're looking to exit here. And we're like, if we sell it though, what are we gonna do with all that money? Especially with the way that we're approaching a lot of our purchases right now. We're doing, low money down, seller wrap, seller finance, things like that. Like I almost need to force a deal to put that into, but obviously I don't want to buy a bad deal with, $350,000 in profit. I'm trying
Yeah,
to,
definitely. And that's and that kind of leads me to this question. So, I mean, if you're going to do a 1031,
mhm.
right? What's the biggest frustration with that?
I mean, it's obviously finding the deal, right? And especially doing it in a timely manner. And I know that we'll have opportunities, but obviously I want to be stepping up. I don't want to be rolling an 8 unit into like 10 single families, which is going to create 10 more problems. Like I would love to go and get that into larger debt. So, we've looked at things like syndications and, DSTs, all that sort of stuff. But if we could roll it into a much larger asset, that would obviously be ideal. So we can get more long-term debt that's at a decent rate. So, I mean, not decent rate now, but could be a decent rate sometime again, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and that's the ticket, right? And that's and that's really what the value proposition is uh, that we can provide is you mentioned DST. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume
Mhm.
that you were referring to a Delaware statutory trust.
That was what I was referring to. Yeah.
Cool. So we have a DST as well, but this one is called a Deferred Sales Trust. But the difference is Delaware is basically a 1031 into a REIT, and
Mm.
so you got to roll all of everything over into just basically a big 1031 REIT company, which is cool. You get turnkey properties, class A properties. However, you're illiquid, you're stuck in the deal,
Mhm.
and you have no control. You get your pref, but they are expensive. And it's a good way to solve a mortgage over basis,
Mhm.
which you guys don't have that problem, it doesn't sound like.
Yeah. So.
But for a lot of people, right there's a lot of drawbacks to the DSTs, the Delaware Statutory Trusts,
Mhm.
and the same thing you mentioned with the 1031s, right? Like 10 are essentially they're great if you could find that up leg right away, but if you got 45 days to identify and 180 days to close in a market that's you know um, unstabilized,
Yeah.
you do not want to be a motivated buyer in an unstabilized market.
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
know and so but what's really cool about the deferred sales trust is that it's like kind of agnostic, so you don't have to go into real estate right away. You
Mhm.
have the option to, but you don't have to. You can sell a commercial building, and you can go into a business, crypto, some stocks and bonds if you want. If you find a good real estate deal, you can go into real estate when you want. So there are so many different ways to skin that cat. There's no time constraints.
Mm.
So you don't have this 45-day window where you're trying to cram in and find a deal. So we we had a gentleman in 2006. Imagine this. He had a $20 million commercial property across from the Minnesota Vikings Stadium. And he had done multiple 1031s, and finally got to the point where he was like, look, I don't want a 1031. I see the writing on the wall. I think the market's going to be going down here soon, but I want to liquidate. I want to get out. I want to pay off my debt. and I want to just kind of chill. Like I don't like where this is going. So he ends up doing a deferred sales trust with us. Saves about $3 million in tax, pays off all of his debt, puts all of the proceeds into a super conservative mixture of bonds and mutual funds. He earned about 4%, but he was earning 4% on that $3 million that he saved as well. 2012, he gets a call from the bank, and they're like, "Hey, you know that property you sold back in 06?" He's like, "Oh yeah, that one to the 1031 buyer who way overpaid for it." They're like, "Yeah, we're foreclosing on them. We want to know if you want to buy it back." He's like, "Well, how much is it?" And they're like, "It's about 40% off what you sold it for." He's like, "Yeah, give me 3 days." So he turns around and he partners with his trust, and he goes and he buys the property back. And on top of that, he got a brand new depreciation schedule.
Nice.
So that doesn't happen every day, but he was set up for success, right? And because he didn't have the time constraints, he didn't have the like kind constraints. He had control over the timing. He had control over the assets and when he was going to go in and when he was not. And so, he's a billionaire now, but it just goes to show you that when you're set up, right, you can exit like the billionaires, right? If you do the things that they do. So that's the quick deferred sales trust story. And if you guys are interested in learning more about that, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com.